The amount of news coverage we get on a day-to-day basis growing due to all the media that is becoming available, along with the constant connection everyone is in. We are getting more and more news that caters to smaller groups of the community. I will be covering my project on Forward, a publication that specifies information and issues that are important to American Jews. This publication has a strong foundation as it was founded on April 22, 1897, as the Yiddish Language Daily by Abraham Kahan, due to its outstanding amount of help given to several generations of Jewish immigrants who struggled to find their footing when they arrived to America, brought awareness to Jewish rights as a whole, and shined a light to the news stories that needed to be shared among the community. It stands out among the nation's most eloquent defenders of democracy and Jewish rights. In the 1920s, the publication even became more sought after than the New York Times due to all of its heavy regarded tips to settle into the American life and popular opinions that were being published around the country at the time. According to the publication, by the early 1930s, the Forward had become one of America's premier metropolitan dailies, with a nationwide circulation topping 275,000, an influence that reached around the world and into the Oval Office. Thousands more listened regularly to the Forward Yiddish language radio station, WEVD, the station that speaks your language. The newspaper's editorial staff included at one time or another nearly every major luminary in the then thriving world of Yiddish literature, from the beloved poet of the sweatshops Morris Rosenfeld to the future Nobel laureates Isaac Bashevis Singer and Elie Wiesel. At the helm gilding the paper for a full half-century until his death in 1950 was Kahan. By the end of World War II, the news publication had dwindled and had to make changes to survive the trying times, which is why by 1983 they ended up only being able to publish weekly and being forced to replace the once Yiddish language-based news with English, but still trying to bring light to the news that matters to Jewish readers. When the change took place, Seth Lipsky, a previous editorial member for Wall Street, took over. With him as an editor, the news became more edgy and had created a reputation for being fearless when it had to do with Jewish opinions of news. Its cultural pages have featured reviews and original ballets letters by such writers as Cynthia Ozick, Philip Lopate, Anne Roffey, and Ilan Stavins, while the sassy fast-forward section has become a leading window into the lifestyles of younger Jews. In July 2000, though, the journalist and author J.J. Goldberg took over the publication. With his leadership, the paper got to see its most successful circulation yet, as it continued to showcase the passion and entertainment that was given by previous editor Seth Lipsky, while also keeping the hard-hitting progressive spirit that so many loved about the original editor, Abraham Kahan. Berg then later decided to give up the editorial position to go back to writing, which led to his replacement, Jane Eisner, in 2008. Eisner became the first woman editor, and she continued the pride of the newspaper for 10 full years. Nowadays, though, the Yiddish paper has an opportunity to grow farther than it has ever expected to, because of how much exposure is available to getting its information to its audience. As of today, the paper continues to grow with the help of Yadi Rodin as editor-in-chief and Rachel Fisherman Feddersen as publisher and chief executive officer, along with 32 staff members, 25 known contributors, and 12 board of directors. Finally, the publication goes on to say, the English Forward was launched as a weekly in 1990. Its perspective on world and national news and its unparalleled coverage of Jewish arts, culture, and opinion have made it the most influential nationwide Jewish media outlet today. More than 1 million unique visitors turn to Forward.com each month for award-winning news, thoughtful commentary, and captivating videos. More than 50,000 subscribers receive e-newsletters that highlight the latest stories and areas of special interest like arts and entertainment and food and drink. After reading articles and trying to pinpoint the voice of the newspaper, I stumbled into their mission statements, and I can fully agree that their morals themselves are their voice. When they speak of their mission, they really put emphasis on the following 5 values: integrity, courage, independence, accountability, and Yiddishkeit. The news publication feels completely different than what I'm used to, because of course it is fact-driven, but there is so much emotion and community within the work, especially because the exact news that is being covered forces it to feel much more personal. Though I am not a part of the community at hand, I felt like I was getting a glimpse of a different perspective. Mainstream outlets felt distant, nonchalant compared to this one. The biggest and most obvious difference I realized through this research is the way the articles are titled. When looking through mainstream news, the titles seem to be once again logical. Some headlines, for example, crew storms off after being asked why mass shootings happen only in America, written by Timothy Bella, published in the Washington Post. Another example would be Ukraine says it faces a long stage of struggle. Germany insists Putin can be allowed to win war by Holly Eliad, published on CNBC. These types of headlines aren't very common in the Forward publication. I mostly saw headlines like these. Never felt pain quite like this. Jews react to Texas school shooting, written by Lauren Hakimi. Or, it's a spiritual earthquake when rabbis become sexual abusers, written by Judy Maltz. These headlines are not written with the same sentiment. They are all speaking of tragedies, but a Forward seems to choose quotes from the people instead of directly giving solely what happened. These quotes make the articles feel more emotional along with how they go about the situation overall. Several articles were led by the audience and spoke of how they were affected and what they had to say about the situation themselves. In the mass shooting article, for example, they included about 15 personal tweets of regular citizens along with politicians' point of views and statements given. Publication is open to contributors as they say they are a nonprofit organization along with being able to donate through ads in the article pages. In bringing awareness and becoming socially conscious, it benefits us all. The more information you register, the better you can go about the change you want to see in the world around you. The newsletter encourages being a part of the community as it brings several opportunities that the American Jewish audience are assumed to be interested in being a part of. For example, one article titled New York City Mayor Urges Jewish New Yorkers to Speak Out in Support of the Police, written by Jacob Kornbluh. In publishing this article, it is spreading the news of what the things you care about need help with, and what you can do to get it done. Some consistencies found in the website are political opinions. The publication very closely updates the politicians' decisions on Jewish law, along with progressive and pro-Israel groups processed through victories. I also found they speak a great deal of Jewish queer youth, which was nice to see. They focus on topics from being a Jewish queer youth yourself and also knowing or raising a Jewish queer youth. I really couldn't find the publication anywhere except Facebook and its official site. The publication has surely greatly benefited from the digitalization of the newspaper. It mentions that it receives more than 1 million visitors on its website per day.